I'm Crystal Manich, and I'm the stage director of Cinderella. I am based in Puerto Rico. The piece was translated to be from television to stage, and the major challenge that I find in the piece is, of course, the transformation. How do you go about on stage creating the carriage and creating those four white mice that turn into horses? On TV, they did cutaways and they were able to have these bigger sets. But when you're working on stage, you have to be a little bit more creative, and we have the luxury now to have technology. And so we're utilizing projections to really help us with that transformation, so that the units that we have on stage actually are transformed through the magic of lighting and projection, so that we can create that carriage. And there's different elements throughout, such as the fireplace. These are all major elements that are part of the story that, of course, you expect in Cinderella.
What has been the biggest surprise that has come up in rehearsals?
One of the biggest surprises that's come up in rehearsals is that we require pretty much everyone to dance, because we obviously have a couple of large ballroom scenes at the actual ball where we need to do a gavotte and also a waltz. And it's been really great having the entire cast learning those dances and being able to do them with such confidence in such a short amount of time in the rehearsal room. And I really think that what dance does with this piece is that it makes it really grand, and I think that people will love seeing so many couples on stage dancing. And we have also 4 professional dancers that are usually always downstage, so that they're really close to the audience, so that they provide sort of the more complicated elements of the steps and things like that, so that everyone else is very uniform, and it really does add to the grandiosity of the ball.
Have you directed Cinderella before?
This is my first time directing this Cinderella, Rodgers and Hammerstein. I have directed operatic versions of Cinderella with Rossini's Cenerentola twice, and also Cendrillon, which is a fantastic French opera. So it's nice to come back to this piece, because I grew up with this piece quite a bit. The Leslie Ann Warren television production is the one that was on the Disney Channel all the time when I was growing up as a kid, and I used to watch it, and I just loved so many of the songs, and there's so many images that are still in my mind when I work on this piece. So it's been really nice to work on this finally.
For people who haven't seen the operatic versions, what do you think are some of the most important differences or similarities between Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella and the operatic ones that you've directed?
There's so many similarities between operatic versions of Cinderella that came before the Rodgers and Hammerstein. I think the biggest similarity is how the character of Cinderella is so grounded in reality. In all those pieces, just like in this piece, I think that we really can attach ourselves to Cinderella. I think we see ourselves in her. We see she's a little clumsy sometimes, that she's a little gullible, but that she also has such a good heart, and that comes through in all the pieces. The major difference is obviously the way that the chorus works. There are major differences in composition, but also in how the chorus is utilized. And in Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella, I think the chorus is really used as a way of expressing what's happening in the town, the colloquial and everyday activity of the cast, and whereas that's not necessarily the case in the operas. Yes, they are ball guests and everything, but I do think that in this piece they're a little bit more rooted in they're utilized for comic relief quite a bit, and it's really nice. It's a nice way to show the whole community that's happening around Cinderella.
That's great. So is there anything, and feel free to pick more than one, that you hope audiences notice in this production that maybe is a little more subtle? Maybe this is a directing choice, or maybe it's something physical, not a costume or a set piece, something that is a little unique, or maybe a little Easter egg people should look for.
It's my hope that people will come to this production and be really inspired and intrigued by the performers and how they are acting their roles. We've taken a lot of time to give everyone individual rein on how they create their character, and that includes the chorus, the ensemble. And I really, one of the choices that I've made as a director is to have Cinderella and Prince be rooted sort of they are on, their feet are on the ground, and they are, even though they're in this, you know, when they fall in love in 10 minutes, they are still somehow calmer characters and available to us as, you know, I think we can really connect to them much more so than some of the other characters. And you know, there's heart throughout the show, and there's different points where I think every character gets grounded throughout, but I'm really enjoying seeing Cinderella and Prince being the ones that we're rooting for, and so that's been a stylistic choice that we've made, and so I hope that the audience will latch on to that and really love those two main characters. Another element of this production that I think people will, you know, if they've seen other iterations of this same show, that they will perceive as being different, is how sparse we've actually taken the show. It's something that we, again, are really interested in using projections to really emotionally create a beautiful atmosphere that's able to transform. And I think that sets us apart from other productions that maybe have more lavish sets and have moving sets, but we actually are taking the opposite approach. We're taking a basic idea of a centering item that was roughly inspired by the idea of a cuckoo clock, and you know, how that opens and closes and changes throughout the show. And I think that is really, that vocabulary is really helping us to get across a really delicate story, but also a very specific story. And I really hope that the audience walks away really enjoying that approach.
Have you been to Charlottesville before?
I was last in Charlottesville 12 years ago when I directed Fiddler on the Roof on this stage for the company, and it's great to be back. I had forgotten what a beautiful city it was and how much I'm enjoying just being here. I find this community really generous and fantastic and kind, and you know, this theater obviously has so much history, and it's really nice to be back and to be doing a completely different show, but still doing a musical, which I love doing.
You and Peter Kendall Clark are old pals and have worked together before. So do you want to speak on that friendship? You know, yeah. Peter was just here last summer for Pirates, yeah. And he you know, tons of fans around here. So
Peter Kendall Clark and I have been friends for 11 years. So I actually met Peter the summer after I was here, not knowing, you know, who he was and his history back to Ashlon Opera, which goes back to 1998. And we became fast friends on a show that we did in Florida. And we haven't had the opportunity to work together since then, even though we've been friends all these years. And it's so great to be back. It feels like, you know, it's amazing to spend time with someone for this extended period of time, because in New York we're always sort of rushing to see each other when I'm in town or something, and we haven't had this time, and to collaborate together again, because I think what's great about Peter is that we're able, the way that I communicate is very similar to the way he communicates, and how we create character and situations and stage scenes. It's very much a conversation. I'm not interested in being a dictator in those situations, and so that collaboration, just coming back to that with him, has been just such a joy, and knowing what he means to this company and the history of this company is really special. So I'm glad that we're back here in this particular town together.